very much. It's a real pleasure. Someone just said that point the camera, make sure people can see slides. Someone commented that people couldn't see it. But it's great to be here today. What a lovely town, isn't it? What a good atmosphere, right? How lucky is everybody? How lucky are we all to have some exposure to crypto, to have some exposure to this great country as well, which is also quite friendly in its regulations. And myself, a member of European Parliament now, I do say it's a hobby. People put me in there to contribute, to have maybe a voice from business, but I'm also a poker player. I'm not ex-poker player, known as Tony G, been quite crazy actually sometimes. Some people would consider that quite emotional and successful. So I had a pretty good career, which is still ongoing, and still in my spare time I do play. And in my spare time I am member of European Parliament and fighter for blockchain. Currently I'm also in artificial intelligence and focused on those files. But as a matter of fact, I just got the agenda because Monday I have to fly to Strasbourg from here. And on Monday we're discussing blockchain. I'm going to have to speak in plenary in front of everybody to get some, because we'll have some voting coming up this week in the European Parliament. So really the support in Europe, in the European Parliament for, I would say, the word cryptocurrencies, although we do always try to say blockchain, right? And not really be so controversial or so upfront. But I think we do have to face the facts that we talk about. Mainly cryptocurrencies so far. This way? This way? That way? Okay, so I might learn how to dance as well today. Okay, that's good? Yeah, so when I've been member of Europe and seeing all the regulation and also being an early investor, I guess the first investment I had myself was about 5 years ago in the blockchain space, in the crypto space. I've always been a proponent, a believer, founder of a lot of projects, an advisor, like Limpo, which has been quite successful, and others where I was advisor for some period of Bankera, which could be better. So as everybody knows, it's difficult at the moment in the market, and having full exposure to everything and seeing the ups and downs, it's still been a lot of fun, and I would still do it all again. And I think I'm most excited about what will happen in the future. Will these utility tokens be really used, and we'll get some use cases for them? Currently, we do have the crowdfunding regulation coming into Europe, and this does cover initial coin offerings, and it will probably cover security token offerings, which we also see as a good opportunity for people to easily get funded. Where I imagine it, and with some of the politicians, that we can easily get funded for good projects, and people can contribute from all over the world, and then you can have liquidity for your tokens. So we do see the biggest wave as security tokens, which is a bit more than just trading air, and it's difficult to justify some of these valuations. So hopefully it does go that way, and I know that in Europe, you have to keep in mind that we don't have the Howey test, we don't have the security laws. So tokens can have more security aspects to them, because there's no way to test it as long as you close USA out. So a lot of, as you know, a lot of the offerings USA has been closed, the ones down from Europe, from Estonia, which is a very progressive country, Lithuania as well. Lithuanian projects have raised 600 million euros, number 3 in the world. So it's not bad behind China and USA over the last 12 months. But the Commission, and that's how Europe works, right? We have the European Parliament, and Parliament is the word. What does Parliament mean? Yes, it's just a place for talking, right? Exactly. The Parliament is a place for talking. That's what it actually means. So we do a lot of talking there. A lot of time, not many people listen, but sometimes we do have a lot of listeners. We had the Pope visit once, and that was exciting.
Talking about crypto.
Well, he didn't talk about crypto, but yeah, maybe we should launch a crypto for the Pope, because he just came and visited us in Lithuania last week again. So I've met the Pope twice, and how cool is that? And, but yeah, in the European Parliament we do a lot of talking, and this is the truth. But I think there's a lot of decisions that are made by the Commission which are important. And the Commission has the most power, which I would say is like ministries and ministers who run Europe and can impose fines and can fast track things. And then we have the Council as well, because it's not enough just to have those two sort of institutions. So we have the Council, where people sometimes have a veto right. So things in Europe do move very slowly. And it's always easier to be a proponent of less regulation than more regulation. Because if there was really regulation coming in for cryptocurrencies, it could start with very good intentions, but eventually we would add things on there, and it would be like, probably at the end, we would say we couldn't trade them at all. You'd have to have like a bank account, whatever people can add on. So that's why I always try to say the less regulation, the better, that we can observe. We can learn and observe, and that's what I've been a proponent of, because we really don't understand where things are going. Can utility tokens work? We don't know yet. Hopefully there will be some real use cases that will make people some money, and there'll be some great excitement there for sure. So we don't know. So we should probably not regulate. That's what I try to say, to observe. Security tokens, on the other hand, can be a whole revolution for Europe. Right? It can give us some competitive advantage against the American stock exchanges and the American institutions who are very powerful and running the world of money. Well, what did our Commission President say just a few weeks ago? We want to see, in his State of the Union equivalent, we want to see the euro being used, not the US dollar. We want to buy oil in euros. So we want to have security markets in euros in the future too. And for Europe to accept cryptocurrency is much easier, because a lot of the countries use the euro, which is not a single country's currency. So integrating with blockchain companies, with crypto companies even, with Bitcoin, it's quite easy in Europe and quite legal. And having the fiat pairs is quite easy and possible. Lithuania, for example, issued about 50 e-money licenses. And an e-money license in Europe allows you to move money just like with a bank account. So it's easy to get started and easy to get things done. The Commission now, I know, has earmarked another 300 million for blockchain projects. So that's support for projects for companies in early stages of development. Some has been dispersed, and on the latest package, that's quite a big amount. So we do care about blockchain. It's definitely important for everybody. And the regulations and the climate is very friendly. Just for one example, one project that had some EU funding, obviously health data will be big, right? We're all thinking about that, and everyone's trying to work things out. So the funding in Europe and the issues with health will definitely be there. So anyone having ideas, and I think as it becomes more trickier to get crowdfunding or contribution funding, which was the main idea, right? It was all about contribution, and then became massive speculation. But I remember the first few raises were just people contributing because they liked the idea, and then it all became quite greedy. So now I think it's hard to get contributions, much harder than before. So we will need to get government funding, and European Union's here funding projects that can make the world better. And I think we need to fight for more and more of that sort of funding. We will come into traditional finance at the end with blockchain projects to see what can work. These are all the relevant people that I have selected in the European government, with people with, I've put myself in, probably I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. If I think about Sorin Moisa, for example, a Romanian member of parliament, which I actually visited in Romania, and I found he was an early investor in Ethereum himself. So that's pretty cool. Right? He's done pretty well. Everybody knows Eva as well, Kylie, who's from the Social Democrats. I'm in the European People's Party, and I think we have a lot of support across across all government in that sense, right? We're all just people who believe that we should support this industry because I think it's important. If we look at the Commission as well, Peter's a very, very intelligent guy and big believer in technology, big believer in blockchain, and a person that's what he said once on record. Like, we don't have the security laws in Europe, and I think that's very important for European government people to say that, because you don't want to be under threat from the security laws in America, right? So Europe was saying we want to be free, liberal, and giving you much more leeway. So people should be in Europe, right? It's logical. You should raise your money in Europe, have your banking in Europe, and hold your cryptos with European companies. Obviously, if you have to, right? And the way Europe works, obviously, national governments can also have their own laws. And not everybody is in the Eurozone. So those countries would have different perspective. For example, Hungary, we had a big vote on Hungary just last plenary, where we actually started Article 7 against procedures against Hungary for their view on things and the way they're running things. So this was a big moment. And the message here is that every country can act differently in Europe. And they don't really have to always follow the European guidelines, the European directives, and Hungary is not following it. And they're choosing a different path of closure and so on. So it's not all of Europe runs the same way, right? Obviously, Switzerland is not even in the European Union or Norway. So there's all different regulations, all different opportunities to be looked at. But at regional level, I think, like Slovenia, is a very good place for our industry. I would say our industry, because I love this industry. Obviously, Lithuania too. It's been very progressive. And Estonia, extremely progressive, extremely open to technology. And we were talking about elections and trials. Estonia has had government elections, proper government elections, online for 10 years. 10 years they've had elections on. So that's a progressive country, right? If you can vote online and they've had no serious issues. Government has been formed based on online voting. They have e-residency. The Pope actually became e-resident of Estonia. And the former Prime Minister, which was the youngest Prime Minister ever in Europe, Targarovius, is actually on a board member of the Blockchain Center Vilnius, and also is the chairman of Limpo, the Lim token that's also listed on Ethfinex. And the messages, obviously, Lithuania is easy. It's like my home and Australia, but it's easy for me to promote and to have influence in Lithuania. So our central bank, our top people who make decisions, Ministry of Economy, come up with good phrases that are open to these new businesses, and where we don't have as much to lose as well. When you're looking at smaller countries, we're happy for the system to change. We're happy to take a risk, understanding that we would take a risk. So some of these messages are very good, and even the central bank is launching its own. They call it digital currency, but it's a digital currency on the blockchain. So I guess you could use another word for it. I will not use it. But they are actually, and this LB chain. There's quite a few companies involved, and anyone wanting to do something in this space can easily deal with the Lithuanian Reserve Bank, who are also part of the ECB family. I would say Lithuania is very much a fintech. A lot of like Revolut, which is a very big growing business, also allows crypto purchases, although it's not on a blockchain. It's in its own wallet. It's also licensed in Lithuania. There's quite a few banks as well, quite a few startups, a lot of working spaces, and just an easy country to do business with. And you can always speak to me as well to get things done really quickly. And we are making a lot of progress. A lot of great companies in Lithuania now, like NASDAQ, for example. A lot of developers, which people are very motivated. Most of the NASDAQ development is out of Vilnius nowadays, from what I understand. But Barclays and others are there. And this is the Blockchain Center, which I was the founder of, which is quite a big working space, but it's also about connections, about getting things done, and a lot of great projects are in there. It's one of the most modern buildings. Next door is the Barclays building. And it's a nice little place. And that's being expanded all the time as well. So anyone really wanting to do something in this space, I would really love for you to visit. That's another picture. I would love everybody to join us, obviously, and to come and visit. If you have any projects, you need any manpower, you need any developers, from smart contracts to blockchain technologies. That's the Blockchain Center Vilnius. It's open for business. And obviously you have to follow me on Twitter. Right? It's easy to find me, and also get the bcgateway.eu is the Blockchain Center. Be in contact. I'll always be helping. I have a large team helping out. Now, if anyone has any questions, any good questions, we'll take one bad question as well. I'm happy to accommodate. Yes. Yes, sir. In a white T-shirt.
I tried without the mic. I go for the bad question. In Europe and in the EU, we see a lot of different regulations. We have this innovative country of Switzerland. We have the lame ducks of Germany, and yet we have these speedboats, such as Malta, trying to take over by setting up new and easy regulations. My question is, in the EU, is there any discussion on either harmonizing regulation or on fostering the competition? Do you think, question number one, is there such a discussion? And question number two, if yes, do they think the competition is something good, or should it be harmonized, the regulations?
Right. Yeah, EUs are always about harmonizing, right? And the Vice President of the Commission answered this digital single market as an idea, right, to harmonizing all of the regulations all around Europe. But because of these challenges with the Brexit, and also the way that Hungary is approaching things, and I guess in a way Poland as well, it's not easy to harmonize because countries do not follow directives. So if we vote for European Parliament, Commission, Council, and there's a clear directive on harmonizing an industry or laws, the local parliament does not have to implement it, or even if they implement it, the authorities don't have to act or don't act. So this is the issue. But in terms of competition, of course, Malta has been very aggressive. I mean, they have less to lose, and they've been always very aggressive in the gambling space, where they provide licenses, and a lot of companies are set up there. So countries do in Europe take advantage of being in one large single family, using the euro, but then having their own approach to regulating. And then it can be very competitive, right? So Germany wants things to be slow and steady, and because they're happy with what they have. I mean, they have the money in the bank, right? I mean, they have the massive surplus that it can, in a way, subsidize and ensure that Europe still has no deficit. If you take all Europe as general, because of Germany's massive surplus, Europe is still a non-deficit economy. So it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of interest and a lot of politics, a lot of negotiations, and very slow progress because of the complexity of this issue. In Europe, we're going to redistribute 1% of the budget, where America redistributes 20% between poor and rich states. So we're not going towards federalism, we're going the opposite way now, for sure. Just because of these challenges, and the electorate obviously thinks that they can have their own closed markets, like with barbed wire fences that Hungary has built, and they can have, clean country, as they would say, politicians, that would sound very sexy, right, to the electorate. So this is the way it's going. So it's hard because people still decide. People vote in government. And then for those politicians that come in, especially with their extreme views of the world and non-liberal views, then their approach is very different. So this is the way Europe's going. I don't think we can change it. I think even Germany is going that way. Slowly but surely, but other countries are there already. So we will not have too much harmonizing, I guess, for a while until we hit the bottom there, and we'll be progressing on a good curve.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't mean to give you a hard time with this question, but how do you explain that governments in Europe seem or keep saying that cryptocurrency businesses are very welcome in Europe, but banks seems to be quite reluctant to open bank accounts for cryptocurrency businesses?
Sure. Well, you don't need bank accounts in Europe. If you have an e-money license, so there's a lot of money institutions, like, I could name them, but there's heaps of them just in Lithuania that can handle the crypto business. And the Reserve Bank does give them guidelines. These businesses do have to be separated. So they don't want an exchange handling fiat so easily the company has to have some sort of a wall, but there is easy action in this area in Europe. But you just have to do it the right way and have a good legal firm to help you set up these operations. And if you have full KYC AML compliance, there is no issue in having, like exchanges having their own sister company that can have a license, or an e-money license. That would be ideal. And then all your customers could also have a bank account as well.
So can I add another question on that? It's very interesting that you highlight the fact that they should have the same KYC requirements as banks if they want to handle that money. How do you explain that they have the same requirements, but they don't have a protective status like banks have, for example, bank secrecy or protecting their own customers? Why do they have the same obligations but not a protective status as a bank?
You actually do have the same. You have €100,000 insurance for e-money license accounts. The only thing is you can't do lending, you can't keep people's money on deposit. But it's Europe with that e-money license is very good, and actually the Eurozone system is very fast. You get transfers done in minutes. It's a very, very cheap way of transferring money. It costs a very small amount of money. Actually, the European system and the Euro system is a very good system, for sure. And operating, and I think especially in future countries are becoming very friendly. Especially we saw Malta with Binance being very friendly. We'll see where that goes. I mean, probably Malta has some risks as well. But time will tell. But I think other countries are very forward-looking, like Luxembourg has licensed Bitfly. So exchanges can get an e-money license from countries. It takes a bit of work, or you can have a separated way of doing it. But it's for sure working in Europe. I think everyone's welcome, and we're happy to help you through the blockchain center. Yes, there was a question.
Yeah, just a quick one. You said obviously the EU is very open to blockchain. How open are they, or has there been any discussions on things like Moneros and Zcashes and truly anonymous coins? Is there any, what are the feelings on them?
Well, if you
Are you bullish?
You know, there would be a lot of different opinions from different politicians. So if you speak to conservative politicians, they would say it's dangerous and it can have negative impact, and others would say it's fine. It's open. I mean, that's the way it is, right? That's the way politics are. Just normal people there in Parliament who are elected by the people of Europe. So at the end, they're just trying to, if they're smart politicians, they're just trying to listen to the electorate to implement what people want at home. And of course, Europe has to protect its currency, right? We want to promote euro because everyone's fine, but it's going to be a better currency if people can build something better that's more efficient. I think it's okay to have competition, right? But of course, every European wants a strong currency, and stronger currency than America, and more used currency than America one day, right? This is our mission now. The President of the European Union said it. The euro now is going to be the nuts.
Following up on what you just said, that this might be a tricky one. What's your opinion about euro tethers?
Euro debtors.
Tethers.
Ah.
Euro tether.
Oh, Euro tether. I really don't know Euro tether, how it's set up.
It's
But
a
I think-
stable coin. Just
Yeah,
basically euro on the blockchain.
who's running that?
As far as just the tether TO.
Okay, it's the same one as the USD
Yes.
tether. Okay, well, I think it's fine. I think it's the best out of. Yeah, I didn't know there's a Euro tether. I mean, I know the USD tether and I use it myself. And I think the USD tether is the best stable coin there is, the highest used stable coin there is, and the best stable coin there is. We do see a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation, but there's no doubt, in my opinion, it's still currently the best, and I said in consensus, so I asked a similar question, that it's the best and most safest stable coin there is in the market today.
So was the idea of using blockchain technology for the upcoming European elections ever discussed at the EU?
Yeah, there's been a few blockchain projects on elections. It's difficult with laws. Every country could implement, like Estonia would probably be the safest, because no other country has really implemented full e-elections. Because if we have a blockchain election, it's probably going to have to be online as well, so you give people an opportunity. The way it works in Estonia, you can come vote online and then you can change your mind. Or you could say, okay, I'm going to come into the station and vote. But you can vote several times and your last vote counts. So there's having a blockchain election, I think it's very possible and doable, and you'll probably start at council level and build up. But I don't know the technology. I've seen a few different projects. I don't know how exactly that would work. How we'd have to put it into constitution of countries, put it into other things, because there's a lot of privacy things about it. So it's not simple. It's not a bad idea. I like it. I think governance in principle, where people can make a decision, maybe not elections to start with, but like Switzerland has referendums for everything, right? So other countries, and I think people want more and more say. So it's just that politicians can just implement what people want done, more or less. So then we could have blockchain governance for governments, where people are asked about particular, like, I think Switzerland had an idea to have a huge minimum wage here, or just make everybody a millionaire. Right. I mean, it's easy to do, right? You just have more money. This doesn't mean you're going to increase people's purchasing power. But you could actually ask people more. And maybe that would be good if the industry thinks about ideas of where we can get people involved in government. Because for sure there's a lot of disconnection in Europe between government and people, especially when we have the European Commission, which is so not elected. So there's a lot of complaints about why is the Commission there, although they're doing an amazing job and they're very smart people, but they're not elected. So there's been, and we try to vote in Parliament to get the President maybe elected by the people, and in Europe would truly go on that federalist approach, but we can see it's just going the other way now. So it's difficult to get blockchain elections in Europe for a long time, for sure. Yes.
Actually, how do you see the taxation laws evolving for crypto assets? Do you see we'll have more unified regulations, or you see things evolving for more like country by country approach?
Oh, it can't be. We can't have taxation in Europe, as you say. We redistribute a very small amount of our budget, so we cannot have same tax in Europe. Although because countries would lose their competitive advantage. I can talk about Lithuania. Taxation on cryptocurrency gains is 15%. So you pay 15% on your gain, and there's very clear guidelines as well, where the finance ministry issued guidelines of how you can pay tax, how you can pay tax on initial coin offering gains, and so on. So it's quite simple. Whatever your profit is, whatever you've converted to fiat, you can pay 15%, and the rest is yours per annum. But other countries are different, and you do have to register that you're a crypto trader. So it's not a one-off event. You're actively trading. You can register in Lithuania. You can do this now. You can be domiciled, and then you just pay 15%, and you can have your money in euro if you're cashing out to euro.
I think the percent-wise, it's quite straightforward, and I think I completely agree, we'll see more and more competition as we see today in regular taxation. I think the issue here, maybe you will agree, is more about defining the type of crypto asset being taxed. In some jurisdictions, it might be a commodity, but on the other hand, another jurisdiction might consider that a security. So that's what I mean by going forward in terms of having an harmonized system, more than that.
Yeah, but most jurisdictions would not matter. It's still capital gains tax. We're still paying capital gains tax. So then it's just the rate of the capital gains tax, and some countries still don't have a capital gains tax. So then if it's capital gains, in fact, a lot of countries still don't have it. So that's great, right? Especially if you keep the assets for 3 years. Of course, if you keep Bitcoin for too long, then you can lose more than you gain in the tax, right? Or vice versa. But every country has different laws. And this is what makes Europe so exciting too, because people can come and make deals with governments now. That's why they compete. If you come to Italy, for example, you can have a cap of 100k. Right? If you have non-domicile status in the UK, you can have no tax, no capital gains tax, anything made outside, and so on. And we have a lot of great countries here, like Monaco and Switzerland and others, that have their own laws, and competition for tax is very, very immense. We just got to find the gains.
Cool. Thank you.
Anyone else? There we go.
Maybe last one.
Last one. It's by kind.
Okay, I'm going to change the topic a little bit. I just want to go back to your discussion of the blockchain center in Lithuania and how one thing I see as an important theme is like getting a real large number of consensus of people behind the blockchain, behind these currencies. How do you see activating the younger generation to, and I think that like having the center like you have is really powerful to get them engaged in this technology, because otherwise it can't just be a few of us here in this room, it has to be, and I see that as the opportunity is the next generation coming up, so.
Yeah, so we worked very hard, and last week, during the Consensus Singapore, we had a conference in Lithuania called Switch Conference, where we had 15,000 people, and then the kids are free. We bring them in from all over the country. We talk to them about blockchain. We talk about having wallets, where to have it. You have to teach young people. I think if we really want a lot of use of cryptocurrency, whatever that currency will do, whether it's a reward token or a token that can have value, education token, whatever that can be, it's fun for young people and they get engaged. And I think it's just evolution that we can't stop. It's definitely going to happen. But you have to teach them very young. And we try to do it very hard. And the Blockchain Center is not a profit. So we have a lot of activities where we just run seminars and conferences, try to incubate projects, try to give them some good guidelines, some good direction for and especially we want to get projects where young people can build that can fix a problem or improve people's lives. Obviously, that's what we should really aim for now, and it's happening, and we see it is happening. People love it. It's just a natural approach, but it has to be fun for them. We have to engage them with. They have to have fun. It can't be hard work. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting. Good to get an insider view on what's going on in Europe. Thank you.